We came to use the service at the hospital. Lily wasn't very well. It started on a Wednesday evening. I was at a meeting in Manchester and she was staying over with my mum. And she was throwing up a lot all night and she had a really high temperature. So my mum rang Michael and they rang 111 and a paramedic was sent round to mum's house. The paramedic came and their advice was that she went to hospital. So she went to the hospital initially early hours of Thursday morning and she was there for about 2-3 hours. They gave her some fluids, so blackcurrant juice. They were happy that she kept them down, so they sent her back home initially. When I went on the the early hours of Thursday morning when she first went in, they were getting discharged as I went. And they said they thought it was the virus that she was trying to fight, but there was nothing else that they did for her. We took her home and then through the day she was really lethargic, not herself, just literally sat on the bed all day, still quite hot. As the evening drew on, she got considerably worse. There was all marks up her back. So then we rang 111 again. They sent a paramedic and it was the same lady who was at my mum's the night before. Now she was absolutely unbelievable, absolutely fantastic. She saved Lily's life initially. As soon as she saw her, she said it's a red light, so then an ambulance crew turned up. She put her on oxygen straight away, and then they took her out to the ambulance, and she made a call to give Lily an injection that the doctors basically said saved her life. And then I went in the ambulance to A&E, and Michael and Tyler came in the car. As soon as I walked through the doors, there was a big team there of 10 to 15 doctors, sisters, you know, all the major players. They literally took her off me. They asked, like, quite nicely, can we have her? They took her off me and then started to do their work. Initial impression was a little bit scary, obviously walking in quite daunting, seeing all those people. But what they did was amazing, saved our family.
Fantastic with explaining everything to us as well, weren't they? Through
the sisters kept coming over and explaining, numerous doctors did. They kept us well informed because it was obviously quite scary. Everyone was all over her, putting tubes in her, injecting her. You know, there's a lot of people sort of around a little person, which... The speed of the way that the A&E team, and particularly the paramedic, sort of dealt with her, you know, we were told by a few doctors, you know, look, the chances are that we might not be able to save her, it was that serious. But then as soon as sort of it got to the stage where they thought she'd pull through, they did sort of let us know. You know, our concern was that she went in the morning and got sent home, but we asked about that, and they said, unfortunately, the first signs of meningitis is a virus. And
well, they still weren't sure. Obviously, they were quite confident that they knew what it was, the meningococcal septicemia, but obviously they had to do the test and stuff, didn't they? So they were putting lines in and shed tubes everywhere, and obviously everything they did was a perfect scenario could be done, because obviously it saved her life. So, but just putting the fluids in, obviously explaining what they were giving her, weren't they? The different kind of medication, the strong painkillers, she was on morphine, liquid ketamine. They
had to put her to sleep and they let us come and speak to her and say goodbye before they put her to sleep and stuff. So they were quite, you know, really caring towards our feelings. The only thing we were disappointed with is when we returned back to Blackpool. We were only there for a day. You know, we've gone from sort of 4 or 5 days previous to being told that our little girl might not make it, and then if she does, you know, the side effects of meningitis. To being obviously transferred back to Blackpool because she didn't need the intensive care in Stoke, which was fine. But when we was in the child's unit, the nurses and the sisters were wonderful. We found the doctors to be quite sort of, I'm trying to think of the word, not really conscious of sort of what we'd been through. So obviously we'd been through quite a hard time as a family. We'd been, you know, driven off to Stoke, and when we came back, we felt that they were quite heartless towards our feelings. When we spoke to them, they were mainly just like 1 or 2 were quite sort of standoffish, whereas other ones, like the doctor who treated her in A&E, made an effort to come up and see us and speak to us and come and find us, and said that he'd rang Stoke and find out how she was, you know, and stuff. And for us, with the child, that's exactly how the doctor should have been on the wards, and they weren't like that towards us.
So, but the emergency care, fantastic, but when it's not an emergency, I think we just sort of felt like just being told more would have obviously made a massive difference, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Good girl.
We had the North West transportation team who take to Stoke, and they said they were expecting him to be in a lot worse state than what they were. So they said obviously that the doctors at Blackpool, the emergency care unit, had done a great job. And then when we got to Stoke, they said the same. They said we were expecting it to be in a lot worse state than what she was in. So they really did a lot of prevention for her, you know, to make sure she had a full recovery. And quickly, she's literally a miracle baby, and everyone calls her it as well now. She's spoiled rotten, haven't you? Yes.
Involvement in the care of emergency management of Lilly was really humbling experience, because to start with, we were dealing with a child who was extremely serious with meningeal septicemia. Almost it looks like that we were losing in front of our eyes. However, the whole team, consultant anesthetist, emergency A&E doctors and nurses, pediatric team, they all worked so hard to stabilize the baby and to make a transfer to pediatric intensive care unit and save the baby. It was really good output. I was highly impressed by the ambulance crew who did a really good job in bringing the very unwell child swiftly to the hospital and also gave antibiotics. Very much appreciative of my registrar, Salma, who managed to put intraosseous line within no time to give IV fluids as she was in shock. And looking for IV vein would have been a waste of time in that sick child. We did manage to put IV line later on, but initially she needed all the medicine and fluid going through intraosseous route to save the child. I think it was very good for the child and the family to get a positive outcome following such a serious illness. It was festive season, Christmas time, so I'm really pleased with the good outcome, and I just feel all the best for Lilly for her future development. Lilly was admitted following discharge from Stoke Pediatric Intensive Care Unit in Blackpool, and then she was discharged home. And listening to parents and the video, I felt that they were a bit uncomfortable of the way the decision was made and she was sent home. And looking back, I think our usual policies for any children coming with meningeal septicemia returning back to us, our aim is to ensure that they are getting antibiotics for full course, and if the child is well, we let them go home, because it's only 1 day dose of antibiotic once a day, so it can be given either by pediatric outreach nurse visiting children's family and giving injection at home, or parents bringing the child to ward and getting injection in the hospital, because we want to prevent child to get from further infection, as pediatric ward is always full of children coming with various infections. And I think that was the reason why the medical colleagues approached Lilly's parents and made a decision to discharge, but without, I appreciate that there was not enough time for medics to sit with parents and explain the reasons why they are discharging. And fortunately, on the same day, I was able to meet parents. I was able to explain it to them, the reasons for discharge, and I'm aware that there were some personal situation as they were moving house at the time. So I can only apologize, and I would make sure that within my team this message can be disseminated so people can learn from this, that whenever we are discharging a child, we must make sure the decision of discharging children is shared with the parents, and parents are on board why we are discharging, and if they got any issues they can discuss. But overall, I felt that was a very positive case, and this was a small kind of miscommunication rather than any thing which has affected Lilly at all.